Hi, I'm Dr. Dave Janda, and please welcome to our Operation Freedom platform, WeThePeopleProcessing.com. You know, are you tired of being threatened to be canceled just because you have a company focused on liberty and freedom? Well, worry no more, folks. WeThePeopleProcessing.com is your go-to merchant services, freedom-based company to provide business service payment solutions. We the People Processing provides their clients a cancel culture-free platform which is domestically based. They provide competitive rates, no contracts with next-day funding, a fully vetted and like-minded financial infrastructure, and full support for integrations, implementation, and e-commerce efforts. Bottom line, WeThePeopleProcessing.com focuses on defending your company's free market growth, values, and future. Check them out at www.WeThePeopleProcessing.com. Once you're on the site, enter in password Operation Freedom or call 855-499-2024. That's WeThePeopleProcessing.com. Then, when on the website, enter Operation Freedom as your password or call 855-499-2024. Thanks for tuning in, folks, and welcome back to Wham Talk 1600's Operating Theater. It's the only OR in all talk radio. I'm Dr. Dave Janda, broadcasting from our ancillary bunker, linked to our main freedom bunker in the People's Republic of Ann Arbor. We're here every Sunday for you live from 2 to 5 Eastern, much to the disappointment of the deep state and their puppets. Why? Because, well, this show focuses on informing you with facts and data and science to put you ahead of that globalist constructed curve that ends in a brick wall that will shatter your remaining freedoms and liberties. This show and our platform, DaveJanda.com, provides you an off-ramp, if you will, a road to freedom. Why? Because we provide you the facts, the data, the science, as opposed to what the deep state wants and what they serve up 24/7 on their bought-off, lamestream, fake media tentacle. You see, the deep state is all about misinforming you, disinforming you, and keeping you uninformed, so you hit that wall. But not what we do here at DaveJanda.com or Operation Freedom Radio Show or our videos. We educate and empower you so you take the off-ramp to freedom. That's right. And that, in a nutshell, is why the deep state despises anything and everything we do. You see, folks, every week in our operating room, we dissect current events that are impacting you, your family, your business, our community, and our country. And we bring to our operating room information guests the bought-off, lamestream, fake media either ignores because it doesn't fit in their preconceived, politically correct, bought-off agenda. Because, folks, they're petrified. They're petrified of what might happen if they actually tell you what you need to know. This show and our platform is about your freedom. Your political, your economic, your financial, and your health care freedom. I have been inundated with responses to a video which is now present on the public side of DaveJanda.com entitled Your Road and Our Road to Freedom. This is about information you will never get from any other source or any other platform. How can I confidently say that? Because it is what I have battled for over 35 years in taking on the deep state from when I first went to Washington in 1988 at the behest of the Reagan administration to help work on healthcare policy. It's also about my family's battle with the syndicate, the globalist syndicate, since the late 1880s. I didn't say late 1980s. You're right. 1880s. One group of people that have contacted me have been freedom fighters from around the country and around the world, thanking me for laying it all on the line. It's information I cannot go to on the radio. Why? Because the the FCC would be knocking on Theron X's door and Wham Talk 1600's Freedom Bunker's door in a nanosecond if I spoke about a significant portion of what I present in that video. I cannot go to it, obviously, on YouTube or Rumble or on any social media platform, which is why DaveJanna.com exists. We made it available, that presentation, for our subscribers at DaveJanna.com, and it's our subscribers that allow this show to continue. Without their support, this show, my videos, the website would no longer be in existence. So you can thank our subscribers for contacting me saying, Dave, this is so powerful, this is so important, you got to release this to the public, which is why it's on DaveJanna.com, and you can watch it for free. And then I hope network it, because the more people that become educated, the more people that become empowered, and the sooner we end this reign of terror from the deep state. So one group of people, the freedom fighters, said, you got to get this out there, Dave, which we've been doing. The second group are from deep state players. In a nutshell, I'll clean up their response to me, but in a nutshell, the response was, so now I know why you are such, just a jerk to everyone and anyone in Washington, D.C. and in government. Okay. Now they understand. Because I am about, and I've always been about, as my family has been about, accountability and transparency. And that's what every guest on this platform is about, including my first guest, Adriana Reed. Adriana Reed had the courage several years ago to tell you that our economy and the world's economy was headed into a stagflationary economic situation, and you needed to protect yourself. Many people discounted her. Some people actually slandered her. Well, in fact, Adriana was 110% correct. And she has stood by her analysis, which benefits every person willing to listen. For those of you not familiar with Adriana Reed, she has been with the fantastic company, the Camino Company, since 2011 as a trader. She is one of the principals in the Camino Company and is one of the most knowledgeable and honest people in the precious metals arena. The website is Camino, C-A-M-I-N-O, CaminoCompany.com. It's my honor to welcome back our friend and freedom fighter, Adriana Reed. Adriana, welcome back to the Operation Freedom Show and platform.
Thanks for having me again, Dave.
So, Adriana, as I mentioned in your introduction, you had spoken about we were headed toward a stagflationary environment. Just this week, here's the following data that came in. Initial jobless claims surged to highest since November. Oh, wait, that kind of goes along with the stagnation component. And then as far as the inflation component, producer prices remained near record highs year over year. Year over year basis, the producer price index remains up a shocking 9.8%. In a year over year basis, consumer prices increased 8.5%. Yet Joe Biden, who meanders around the White House and the Oval Office, Joe Biden went out in front of the public this week and said, yeah, those inflation was, quote, 0% last month, end quote. Adriana, your take.
You know, Dave, the problem that you have right now is there's so much transparency that went down during when the pandemic started in the first place. And I've said this for many years, being that we also went through the Great Recession. When you start printing money, inflation is going to come no matter what. They can't stop it. There's no pulling it back in. There's no, dropping numbers, increasing numbers are always going to happen. So that's number one. Inflation was going to hit us no matter what they did. Number two, you told everybody to stop working. You can't do that in an economy as strong as our economy. The fact is that Trump had the economy thriving. You can't deny that, no matter who you are. As long as you are thriving in facts, let's put it that way. So the economy actually got crushed during the pandemic, and that's how you get into this stagflation period in the first place, is that you're not going to have extreme growth. People now have had a taste of also all this free money that we had given out during that point in time. And jobless claims are coming back because people aren't going back to work. People are firing people. People are, fighting the fluff in their business because the profits and revenue is not what it was pre-pandemic. And so that's where you get the stagflation coming from. And that's what we're dealing with right now. The second problem you have with the administration right now is they're not acknowledging anything under realistic terms. Now, as you and I both know, being in economics, that a recession is defined as a GDP having negative numbers in 2 quarters. And now we're redefining what a recession is. And if you don't acknowledge something for what it is, you can't ever fix the actual problem.
So, Adriana, you mentioned that the Federal Reserve printing money. Mm-hmm. Many people have commented that you, me, several of our other guests are too hard on the Federal Reserve and laying the blame to the government bureaucrats that keep, for example, their latest Inflation Protection Act, which is really an Inflation Production Act, by spending $750 billion more money, of which the Federal Reserve is happy to print up. Folks say, you're too hard on the Federal Reserve. I want to play a clip by the chairman of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, who recently said this on 60 Minutes. I want to play this clip, Adriana, for you and get your take. Derek, hit it.
You simply flooded the system with money.
Yes, we did. That's another way to think about it. We did.
Where does it come from? Do you just print it?
We print it digitally. So we as a central bank, we have the ability to create money digitally, and we do that by buying treasury bills or bonds or other government-guaranteed securities, and that actually increases the money supply. We also print actual currency, and we distribute that through the Federal Reserve banks.
Adriana, that's the chairman of the Federal Reserve, which, as you've mentioned before, is an independent group of bankers. They're not part of the executive, legislative, or judicial branch of the government, but he admits to it right there.
Exactly. And the fact of the matter is he's admitting to it because they have to say that what's actually going on, because they don't want to be held accountable for the things that they say. But, he's telling you exactly what it is. He's saying that inflation is going to take over. That's another way to interpret that statement, in my opinion.
Well, while Joe Biden is saying we had 0% inflation, this came out this week from the Epoch Times. Grocery inflation hits highest level in 43 years, yet Biden talks about zero inflation. Year over year, the jump in food prices has been beyond significant. Flour up 23%, chicken up 18%, milk up 16%, bread up 14%, and eggs up 38%. Yet, Biden is telling people, and Harris confirmed it, is also reinforced it, that inflation was 0% last month, Adriana.
You have an administration that's out of touch with the American people. Now they ran on the ideology that they were going to help the middle class, that they were going to help the poor, and they're actually hurting them the absolute most. There is a percentage of people in this country who are not going to feel inflation based off of how much they make. They won't feel how the people on the ground. Now, saying that energy, because you decrease the cost of gas, which should have been done a long time ago by becoming energy efficient, and going into our own space to create our own gasoline production was required. Now they lower gas by 10, 15 cents, and they say that they're lowering inflation. But what we're talking about is exactly what you're talking about. Is the inflation that is affecting people the most is the grocery store. Is families are going down to, hey, we have to do portion control on how much we eat. We have to make sure that we have enough money to get through the week. We have to make sure that we have enough gas to get to work. We have to make sure that we have enough money for our children to have clothes and shoes to go back to school, with back to school coming up. Those are the people that are being affected the most by everything that this administration is doing, and they're not acknowledging it. To say that inflation is at 0% is just beyond me to even make a statement with somebody with that much power in this country. I think that it's very, very dangerous, to be honest.
Folks, we're speaking with Adriana Reed from the Camino Company. So, Adriana, many people said, well, in times of high inflation, such as in the 1970s, end of 1970s, beginning of in the early 1980s, what held up well as far as holding value was gold and silver. And they're doing okay, but they're not skyrocketing at this point. Now, you have brought to our attention over the years that there's a difference between the physical price of gold and silver and the paper price of gold and silver. There was a federal trial of J.P. Morgan Chase traders
Yes.
Actually, and you can look also traitors that have been involved in criminal manipulation of the paper precious metals market. I just want to read the headline, get your take, because many people said this was conspiracy theory when you've talked about this for years. Ex-JP Morgan traders are found guilty of fraud. 3 former JP Morgan Chase and Company employees were acquitted of racketeering and conspiracy charges in a landmark futures manipulation trial this past week, although 2 were found guilty of other charges, including fraud. The head of their global precious metals desk that did the trading, well, they were convicted of 13 other charges, including fraud, spoofing, and attempted market manipulation. Adriana, educate our listeners because this is really important. There is a huge differential between the physical price of precious metals, the paper price of precious metals, and the reason there's such a big differential is because of criminal activity that was found, people were found guilty at JP Morgan Chase of doing.
Yeah, so this is not the first time that we've actually seen people found guilty of manipulating our markets. There were some Deutsche bankers who had to go through the same thing. I believe there's 8 of them involved in it as well. What's happening is the banking system is basically saying that there's way more ounces of silver and gold out there than there actually is. Now, if I were to take all of the paper contracts and say, hey, you have to deliver physicals, it would bring down the paper contracts. They would all be in huge trouble. And that's why, for me, what I'm seeing right now, especially with the price manipulation that we're experiencing in gold and silver, obviously, I believe that the numbers should be way higher in gold and silver, but I also believe that it's giving us more time and opportunity to prepare ourselves for when they aren't able to do this anymore. And so, I would love to take down every bankster that's, fraudulent, but I think we wouldn't have any banking system left if we did that. And that's kind of the goal. And that's what I do. I help people become financially free from this banking system where they are manipulating these markets. And as long as they manipulate our markets, I do see it as more of an opportunity for people to get ahead.
So let's talk about how people can get ahead, because gold and silver have been seen as an insurance policy when the government and the banksters are criminally manipulating economies. And this has been shown time and time again. So many people believe purchasing physical gold and physical silver are difficult. Educate our listeners in how you do that through the Camino Company, so how people can, if you will, get in a lifeboat to protect themselves from this deep state sea of corruption.
Exactly, yeah. So you can call up, speak to one of the traders. You can place an order with us. When you place the order with us, all of the prices will get locked in at the time of the order. You send payment, and we're going to send you actual physical precious metals. Now, right now, at this point in time, my main concern is, there's a couple of concerns that I have in general, but I would say my main 2 are, number 1 is the banking system is going to have some serious problems coming up ahead with inflation and trying to get money back into the system for them to be able to do everything that they need to do. So, we have the potential of defaulting our currency at some point. That's number 1. So at this point in time, I recommend that you do have gold and you do have silver. You and I have talked multiple times on the show about the situation in Venezuela, where they had to use silver to pay for goods because, a regime stepped in and it took the entire country out, which is could probably be pretty parallel to what we're seeing right now. Number 1. Number 2, if we go on a digital currency, my main concern is your freedom to spend money how you want to without them watching every little step that you make. And so that's why I think gold and silver are also going to be really important to have in your safe at home, just for, spending purposes, to make sure that they don't get to know that you were at 201, you spent money, because they're on a digital currency and now able to watch every single move that we make financially. We work with people who have all types of spending capacity too. So if you have $100 or you have $1 million, we deal with everybody far in between, because I believe that everybody should have an opportunity to get into the market to help, get them financially sound.
So educate our listeners, Adriana, on where we are with supplies of gold and silver and the premiums now, because the premium is the differential between the fake paper price and the physical price that's available for people to purchase.
Exactly. So let's just also go over a couple terms when you do speak to the traders. The spot price is exactly what you said. We call it the spot price, which is going to be the base price, in essence, at the time when you call. We'll talk about what that is. Number two, each item is going to have a different premium. The premium is the price over the spot price that you pay to get the material into your hands. Each item right now is running different prices as far as their premiums are going. So we will explain every premium. Unfortunately, America is charging the highest of the premiums because even gold and silver is still linked to our government. So why not make us pay more? But there are other options to get into gold. We sell Cougarans, we sell Maple Leafs, we sell Kangaroos. We also do gold bars if you're comfortable with them. So there is options that you can get into so that you can pay the lowest premium possible. But we also do have the gold eagles and gold buffaloes if it is a preference, and you want to buy American, which I completely understand. On the silver side of things, silver right now is we're starting to see it just a little bit with a couple little delays on certain items. Silver eagles are becoming much harder to get. The monster boxes are becoming much harder to get. But at this point in time, because they have such a high premium, my personal recommendation is to buy the 1 ounce generic rounds. Those are going to be privately minted silver coins. They're typically buffaloes that will be sent out to you, and they are 1 ounce of 3/9 fine silver. And I believe that they'll do exactly what you need it to do when the time comes, and they also are a really good way to preserve your wealth. You could also get into bulk purchases as well. If you wanted to get into 10-ounce silver bars or 100-ounce silver bars, that's also an option, which I actually, if you are diversifying your portfolio within the precious metals sector, I think it's good to have a little bit of everything, having 100-ounce bars, having 1 ounce rounds. The last thing that I prefer also, and I always think that everybody should have on hand, is the junk silver. That is the pre-1965s, halves, quarters, or dimes. I always recommend having this on hand because it's silver that was created before we were taken off the silver standard by Nixon. And I believe that it's just a really good way to preserve your wealth, number one, but also, once again, we go back to the tradable factor of having smaller pieces if need be.
In availability, what are we looking at as far as availability? You've been doing this for well over a decade. How does where are we with the availability of precious metals?
Yeah. So right now things are looking okay. The only thing that we have is due to the volume of orders. We are about give or take a couple of days behind on gold. Silver is a little bit behind as far as delivery goes, but we're getting orders out as quickly as possible. Silver eagles are actually an item that we are potentially looking to stop selling because of the delay time on them is starting to increase heavily. And I want to get silver into people's hands as quickly as possible. As far as gold, everything's readily available. And like I said, I just want to tell people we are a family business. So there's actually only 3 of us who are trading and also only one packer. So we do all of this on our own, and you're supporting, in essence, a small family business while we're also helping you out.
Well, yeah, you're actually beyond helping people out, Adriana. You're actually, as I've said before, and I'm very sincere about this, you have created a lifeboat for people to get into. And the problem is that there are so many people that supposedly are financial advisors that are telling people, no, don't get in the lifeboat. Just listen to the band playing as the ship we're on is sinking. And it's a huge problem, Adriana. I mean, it's an enormous problem that is a preventable. It's a preventable scenario, a really dire scenario that you and the people at Camino help people to try to prevent.
Absolutely, and I'm proud of it.
So, in our last 2 minutes, Adriana, educate our listeners on what the biggest mistake people make when it comes to precious metals, and educate people how they can get in touch with you as soon as possible.
Absolutely. So I think the best way to look at our markets, and I tell everybody that I talk to, is you're not technically investing your money. I mean, in essence, you are, but if you change your mindset, you're getting insurance on your money. Yep. That's what we do, is we help you get insurance. And you would never drive your car without insurance. You would never buy a home without insurance. is why not back your dollars with insurance too? Because you don't want to spend the rest of your life draining yourself out, and you have the ability to make it so that you can beat the system, because I do not believe that recessions are natural anymore. I haven't believed it for the past 100 years. They're made by the Federal Reserve. They're made by the globalists. And if you can protect yourself, you can stay as free as you want to be in America.